Part 1. The meeting and the beginning of the relationship. When I first met Alexei, it was at a regular event, and he immediately caught my attention. Tall, well-dressed, with confidence in his voice, he seemed so unattainable. I was a widow with 2 children, and I didn't have time for illusions or idealizing anyone, but he was different. I felt like we talked about everything, and we immediately connected. He had a soft gaze and a pleasant smile. We started spending more time together, and it was easy. His support helped me get through a tough period, and I thought, this is it. He's the one I've been waiting for. We quickly became a couple, and after a year, we got married. Alexei accepted my children with open arms. At first, he was a good friend to them, and then he took on a parental role, trying to be a good father to them. I saw how he treated me with respect, was patient, caring, and thoughtful. My children also became attached to him, and it seemed like we had all found our place in this world. But from the very beginning, I felt something was off. My mother-in-law frequently appeared in our lives almost every time we planned something for ourselves. I thought it was normal, being close to family, but it soon became clear that she was controlling Alexei, and he, like a little son, obeyed her in everything. Her calls became regular. She constantly asked why we hadn't visited when we'd come over, or if the kids could stay with her for the night. These little things became a problem over time, but I stayed silent, not wanting to ruin the relationship with my husband's family. Part 2. Changing dynamics and growing estrangement. A few months after the wedding, I started noticing changes in Alexei's behavior. He started spending more and more time with his mother, turning down offers to help me and the children. At first, these seemed like small things. He stayed late at work to go to her, or refused weekend plans. Every time he found a reason not to be home, and I was left alone with the kids. My mother-in-law began openly criticizing me. She complained that I didn't keep the house in order and that I didn't pay enough attention to my husband. She even started teaching Alexei how to properly manage our household and when he should intervene in what I did or didn't do. "You should have reacted better to this," she would tell him. "If you want your wife to be happy, you need to help her with the kids more. But don't forget about me. You're still my only son." At first, I didn't react, thinking it was just her way of communicating, but over time it became harder to ignore. Alexei started siding with her, even when she was wrong, and I began to feel like there was a wall growing between us. She became his main advisor, and I started losing my place in his life. Every family dinner ended in an argument. My mother-in-law didn't hesitate to show how she thought I wasn't worthy of her son. Alexei began going back to his mother's house to avoid conflict. Part 3. The collapse and final decision. After several months of this constant tension, I realized that Alexei had completely changed. He no longer saw me as an equal. His mother had taken full control of our lives. She was trying to make decisions about everything, even things related to my children, our finances, and future plans. I, on the other hand, was starting to feel isolated in my own home, increasingly alienated. One day, when we couldn't agree on something important, Alexei told me I needed to listen to his mother more. At that moment, I realized he was no longer the man I fell in love with. He had become part of her world, her little son, and this was the final blow to our relationship. A few weeks later, Alexei left. He just packed his things and, without even apologizing, went back to his mother. There he found his place, the place of a little son who she continued to protect, control, and try to influence every decision he made. He didn't respond to my calls or texts. His life now revolved around one person, his mother. I was left alone with the children, and while I went through a lot of pain, I realized one thing. My mother-in-law had taken my husband, turning him into her toy, and I couldn't do anything about it. Every day felt like a struggle, but I decided not to give up. I began rebuilding my life with my children, And although it was difficult, I realized that what mattered more than what we lost was how we could move forward.